Hi everyone, I'm really excited to be finally ready to show you how to sew up this pouch today. This is a pattern that I came up with for use with a single piece of vinyl. I decided that I wanted to try to make this pouch with clear vinyl was my inspiration. I worked with some PVC vinyl for the first time and I thought it was so fast and fun to sew with the vinyl without needing to have any lining. And I wondered if it would work also for faux leather vinyl, and it did. So I played around with this pattern a little bit and I'm ready to share it with everybody. The pattern that we're going to be doing today uses a single piece of vinyl. This is all one piece here, all one single piece. It's unlined, as you can see there. This uses a double pull zipper by the yard, and it comes together very fast. It only takes about 30 minutes start to finish to make one of these. I am going to be showing you some different versions in the future, but we're going to start with this option. Some of the other variations that I have played around with are the clear vinyl one, which is super cool, sews up the same way as this one does, but obviously with the clear vinyl. One that uses a directional print. So it has a seam in the bottom so that the print is the right way up on both sides, so that you use two separate pieces for. So that's a different variation I'm going to show you. Also using pre-made zipper as opposed to zipper by the yard, and with a single zipper pull. Another version that I'm going to show you uses cotton on the outside, and it is interfaced, and it is lined on the inside, and it has binding. I'm not sure if you can see that there because it's so dark, but it has binding on the inside. And then this other version has lining on the inside, but it is turned. So there's a few different versions that I plan to make videos for eventually, but today we are going to be focusing on this version here, which is, as I said, one piece of vinyl with zipper by the yard and two zipper pulls. So the materials that you're going to need for today's project is your vinyl. So I'm using this faux leather vinyl. You want to make sure it's something that has a little bit more structure. If you use a vinyl that is too thin, your pouch will be kind of flimsy because it is just a single layer of vinyl. If you have a thinner vinyl that you want to use, it would be better suited to one of the lined options that I will have those tutorials for eventually. So a thicker vinyl. Today we're using zipper by the yard. Again, if you have a pre-made zipper, that is something I will show you how to do that variation on in a future video. So we need zipper by the yard 17 inches, two zipper pulls. I need you to be fairly confident putting on your zipper pulls for this pattern, as we separate the zipper and then we slide them on towards the end of making the bag. So if you are still fine-tuning your zipper sliding on skills, then the one with the pre-made zipper may be a better tutorial for you to start out with once I get that up. But certainly give it a go. I will show you how I put on my pulls, and who knows, maybe by the end of this you will be a master of it. So that's what you need as far as your materials. As far as tools, you will need rotary cutter or scissors. You will need scissors that are safe to use on cutting your zippers. So I don't use my normal fabric scissors for that. I have a separate pair of scissors. You will need double-sided tape. You will need a stapler and something to remove staples. I like to use a pair of pliers for that. You will need something to seal the ends of your zipper. Because this is an unlined pouch, the ends of your zipper and anywhere that we snip into the zipper may fray. So I like to seal those with either heat or with fray check. You may want to include a tag. You will also need a ruler if you're putting on a tag, and panel weights and clips if you like to use clips. You can see those there. All right. Oh, and of course, your pattern. So let's get started. For the single vinyl piece version, you will need to print out 2 copies of your pattern piece. I don't recommend putting the vinyl on the fold, because then you end up with slightly skewed dimensions. So instead, I think it's best to print 2 copies of the pattern. You will cut one on the dotted line, and then you will glue it together, lining up the 2 dotted lines so you have one piece. I have traced my pattern piece onto this piece of plastic, which is from a doll store cutting mat, so that I have mine there. So you will have this kind of shape here, and that will be your template. When we're making the different versions with 2 separate outside pieces or with a lining, then you will have one piece, if you're doing the lined version, that is the solid outside, unless you're piecing your outside as well, and then you will use this single piece for your lining. But we'll get into that when I make those other videos. So those 2 pieces tape together to make one big pattern piece that is shaped like this. So grab your vinyl. For this version, we're using a non-directional vinyl. So pop your pattern piece on. I like to use these washers to hold it down. And then you grab your rotary cutter, and we're just going to cut around the outside of this pattern here. I like to take my scissors to snip into the corners to make sure that I don't cut into the main piece of the pattern, especially since this is going to be unlined. You don't want to have any little snips where there shouldn't be any. And then you can set that roll aside. Then the same thing on these corners. And then you can set that aside, because you are now already done cutting out all of your pattern pieces, because there's just one of them. So the first thing that I like to do is put my tag on. Wherever you choose to put your tag is totally up to you. I like to put mine on the outside of these pouches, even though usually I put my tags on the inside, because otherwise you'll see the thread on the outside anyway, so you may as well have your tag there. I like to go from this corner here to this corner here, which is 11 inches across, and I like to place mine in the middle. So I put a little bit of double-sided tape on the back of my tag so that I can get it centered up, and then I will sew that on real quick. So I just 11, so 5.5 is in the middle. And then I just pop my tag right there in the middle, and then I'm just going to go and sew that on real quick, and then we'll be ready to keep going. Now what we are going to do is get our zipper marked up and our vinyl marked up. The first thing that I want to do is fold this piece in half, and then you're going to put a little mark or a little cut here in the center. I like to use my rotary cutter. Make sure that your corners are matched up, and just do a little tiny nick there. If you can see that there. It's just got a little mark there. And repeat on the other side, just to mark where the center point is. Take your zipper tape that has been cut to 17 inches and then fold it in half. What I then like to do is take my scissors, and I'm going to put the same little snip in the corners there to mark the center of my zipper. Then I'm going to go about 2.5 inches down from the center, and then for 2.5 inches I'm going to cut little snips into that tape, and that's going to help us go around this curve of the pouch here. So you can check it on your mat or with a ruler if you would like to. And then I just do snip about 3/16 of an inch in so that it will stay in the seam allowance. And I'm just doing little snips about every 1/2 of an inch or so for about another 2.5 inches, and then repeat on the other side so that you will have 4 sections that have those little snips in it because you have 4 curves of your zipper. Okay. The next thing that I like to do is look at the end of my zipper here. And if you look at your zipper by the yard, you can see that one part of the zipper teeth comes further to the end than the other side. So on that piece, I like to snip the corner so that when I'm putting my pullback on, I know which side to get it onto first. And on this one, it's on that side. So I put a little snip there just so I remember. The next thing that I'm going to do is put the double-sided tape onto this pouch. So I've got 1/8 of an inch double-sided tape. I'm going to start at one end and work my way all the way around, sticking that down right next to the edge as I go around and around, all the way over, just taking it gently around the curve there, all down one side, stopping at the end, flip it around, and then back around the other side. What we're then going to do is take our zipper tape, open it up all the way into 2 separate parts, and then we're going to stick it down so we can sew it on. And this is why I recommend this pattern for people that are confident putting on their zipper pulls. If you're not so confident putting on your zipper pulls, then hang out for the version that has the pre-made zipper on it. And you can do that by putting your zipper on your zipper tape ahead of time, or using a zipper that already has a zipper head on it. So check that you've got your marking there. Pull your zipper tape apart completely, one side down. Peel off your double-sided tape. Then lining up this center mark here with this center mark here, starting in the middle, and then just press your zipper tape onto the double-sided tape nice and close to the edge of the vinyl, using those little snips to take you around the curve. Just pressing it on, going around the curve, just easing the tape around and around. And then you can see there, using those little snips, it's just eased around the curve, and then repeat on the other side. Okay, now the tape is in place using the double-sided tape. We are ready to head over to the machine. What we're going to do is sew this zipper tape on at about 5/16 of an inch, which I know is extremely specific. You can use whatever seam allowance you are most comfortable with for a zipper. It's not going to matter to the final product. I use that amount because that's the width of my zipper foot. So head over to the machine, and we're just going to sew around this side and then this side. Now what you're going to want to do is seal the ends of those stitching lines here. I like to use this little tool here and just melt the threads so that they don't unravel. So if you feel like you backstitch them enough, then you can just snip them off. You can tie them and tuck them. You can use some fray check, whatever your preferred method is of securing your seams. Go right ahead, remembering that these are not going to be enclosed inside of a lining, so you want to make sure that they're very unlikely to come unraveled. So just do that. Then you're going to need to grab a pair of scissors. I use a nice snippy pair for this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to clip into our curve here. So you want to clip in close to the stitching line, but not all the way to the stitching line. So you want to just do about 1/4 of an inch and just put like 3 or 4 little clips there. And we're just going to repeat that on each of the corners. What I then like to do is take my fray check and just put it at the tips and a little bit on the sides of everywhere that I've cut into the zipper tape so that it doesn't fray and cause the zipper to become unraveled. Then we're going to wait for that to dry, and then we are going to take this back over to the machine to top stitch. When we get over there, what we're going to do is we're going to fold the zipper tape underneath like so, and then we're going to stitch along here with the sewing machine. So we'll wait a minute for that to dry, and then we'll take it on over. I like to use my regular presser foot for top stitching, and I use a 4mm stitch length. I like to line up my edge of my fabric here with the edge of the presser foot on the inside, and then I set the needle in the far left position, and that gives me about 1/8 of an inch spacing for my top stitching. And then tucking your zipper under as you go, making sure that you're catching each of these little pieces here that we snipped into as you're going around the curve. I also like to pull on my tape a little bit as I'm going around the curve so that it's not getting tucked in. You can use double-sided tape if you would like to keep that tape tucked under as well. Before you sew it, you can just tape it down. So we've got the zipper sewn on and top stitched. So once again, secure your threads here, whatever your preferred method is, remembering that because this is unlined, anything that you do, you will be able to see on the inside of the pouch. So you just want to make sure that you've got fairly neat finishing there. This is the trickiest part of this pattern that makes it not as beginner friendly as perhaps the other versions may be, and that is because we now have to put the zipper tape on while our zipper is completely separated. So if you are comfortable putting on your zipper pulls, then you can put them on with the pouch right sides together. If you are still perfecting that skill, then I suggest turning it so that the wrong sides are together. It's just a little bit easier to get the pull on that way. So your zipper tape, you can see that I've marked which side the zipper had the teeth extended further on. Take your zipper head. You want it to point with the curved face towards you. So the way that I like to do my zipper pulls is with the end that I've marked as being the slightly longer end, slide that tooth in, and then you can see it in the end there. I then take my other side of my zipper tape, and it's not all the way through there, it's just tucked in a little bit, and then I tuck the other side in until I feel them meet, and then I'm holding them close to each other like that, and then I take my index finger on this side and I just push the head on, and then I check, and you can see that there's no gap there in my teeth, and that's on properly. So pull that on part of the way so that it doesn't come off, flip it around, and you're going to repeat that on the other side. So you can see we marked this side, so we're going to keep that tooth slightly further up. You can see that's how they're going to line up there. So grab your other zipper pull with the curved part facing towards you, slide that on just part of the way in, about halfway in, and then you grab the other side, and then you're just sliding it in there. Oop, that might have slid out a little bit. Let's try that again. It's a little trickier to do when I've got the camera in the way, but there we go. Part of the way in, slide the other side, and then looking to make sure that they're meeting. You can kind of feel when they start to click together. Slide it on, and then you can check. Now, if you notice when you've done this that the teeth are offset a little bit, it is worth it to take the pull off and try again, making sure that your side that you marked is still on the very outside and that you haven't skipped any spots here. The reason being that we centered our zipper in the center of our vinyl and we went around our curves. So if we don't, then our pouch will be offset a little bit and the curves won't match up nicely. So pull your zippers up to the middle and make sure that there's no bumps in it, that they're meeting correctly in the middle, and that your curves of your pouch are lined up the way that they should be. And if you're happy with that, then we're going to turn it back inside out and we're going to box up on them, and we're nearly done. When you turn it, you want to open this up enough so you can turn it, but not so far that your zipper is going to pull off. If you're concerned that in the process of turning it back out, you're going to push your zipper off, I would grab something like a clip, or you can even put a couple of stitches in there. But if you put a clip on the end, then you're not going to accidentally pull your zipper off without using a lot of force. So unzip, turn it back out this way, flip it out, make sure you tuck your tape in through those bottom holes there, and then zip it back up part of the way, not all the way, just part of the way. Now what we're going to do is bend it in half here, making sure that you can see where the lines, the seam is here under that zipper. You want to line that up and line up the corners here because we're going to be boxing that. So we want to match up these two seams there and the corner here, and then crease that there, and that is going to be the center of our bottom. So grab your rotary cutter and then just do the little snip there again. Repeat on the other side, making sure that you're lining up those two edges of the vinyl and lining up that corner there, and that's going to give you a nice neat box in the corner, the bottom corners of your bag. Okay, so now what we're going to do is center up this little square that we just cut with the center of our zipper here. Now you can secure this using clips. I would put one here, and then I also like to put another one here on the side, just for now, to help it keep its shape. But what I really like to do is grab my stapler and move those slightly out of the way. While that's being held in place, grab your stapler and just put the staple right there. Whoops, snapped a clip. Now make sure the prongs are folded down out of the way so they don't catch on your sewing machine. Then I like to put another staple here and another one here. And I leave these in place. Then repeat on the other side, making sure your your triangle that you've marked here is just right there in the middle. Clip there, clip there. Oh, that's the broken one. What am I doing? Okay. Clip there. And there. And then I'm going to slide that and slide that. Grab my stapler again. Staple through here. Making sure you're stapling within what will be your seam allowance when we sew that bottom corner. There. Clip there. Staple there. Now, before you take it over to your sewing machine, you want to make sure that where you have stapled, the little prongs of the staple are flattened so that they don't catch in your feed dogs. I find it easier to sew with the prong side down so that they don't get caught on my presser foot. So we're going to take this over to the machine and we're going to sew along here with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Then we're going to sew again just inside that another 1/8 of an inch. And we're also going to go back and forth over the zipper a couple of times so that our pull doesn't accidentally come off. And we're very nearly done. Okay, somehow when I took that over to the sewing machine, it switched to photo mode instead of video mode. So I didn't get a actual video of me sewing this. So let me just show you what I did. I just sewed the 3/8 of an inch straight down here, going back and forth at the end, back and forth over the zipper, and then back and forth here, and then just another stitch line just inside of that to reinforce it. Same on the other side. And now we can pull our staples out, and then we will secure those threads, and we are very nearly finished, which is perfect timing because I hear the baby waking up. And I can't remember if I said it at the top of the video, but this pouch I am calling the Logi Pouch, named after my baby Logan, because I can almost always get one of these finished in even the shortest naps that he takes. So let me get rid of these clips. We're going to trim these threads here, or melt the ends of these threads here. Then we're going to trim our zipper. We're going to melt the ends of it so that it doesn't fray. And then we're going to be ready to turn this and take a look at our finished pouch. All in about 30 minutes. Probably longer the first couple of times. Or if you're stopping to narrate everything that you're doing. Having to move the camera around. Melting the end of all of these threads here, being very careful not to get the stitch line. Okay, now I'm going to grab my scissors, not my fabric scissors, and I'm going to snip the end of this. I'm going to do it this way so I can see more easily where I have sewn, so I don't accidentally snip my threads. Just cut that right off there. Cut that right off there. Now I'm going to grab my lighter carefully, and I am just going to melt the very end of this zipper here so that it, oh geez, okay, it's hard to do it on camera. I'm just going to do it over here, not on the camera, I think. So I've just melted just the very ends there of the zipper so that it doesn't fray. Then snip any little stray threads. Okay, and now we are ready to turn this out the right way. So just flip it out, making sure that as you go, you push those corners out right to the bottom. Push them out, push them out. And then take it away. Close it up. And there you have it. That is your finished pouch. So, if you want to know when I get the other versions filmed, which is the one using the pre-made zipper and also the 2 different lined versions, then go ahead and subscribe if you want to, and I will hopefully get those up sooner rather than later. It's a little harder to get these filmed since having had the baby, but he's getting older and he does a better job of napping than he has been doing, so hopefully I can get a lot more of these Logi pouches made. All right, thanks everyone, happy sewing.